Good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are back with another episode of Likeable Leaders. I am so excited for today's episode because it's been a bit. Yeah, that's right. It's August. Some folks have been traveling. I've been doing a lot of travel. We've taken a couple weeks off, but we are back with a very, very exciting guest today. My guest today, my friend Barry O'Reilly. I'm going to tell you all about Barry in just a moment. First, if you want to win one of his books, post a comment. Let us know where you're from. We were giving away copies of, that's right, hold it up, Barry, Unlearn, Let Go of Past Success to Achieve Extraordinary Results. Unlearn. So everything you think you've learned is wrong. We're going to find more about that. But we're going to give away copies of Unlearn from Barry in just a moment. The only way to win is to post a comment, whether you're watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, post a comment. And our fabulous producer, my apprentice, Abigail, is going to start selecting winners in just a little while. So post a comment, post a question, let me know where you're from, and we will pick some winners in a little bit. Let me tell you about our special guest, Barry O'Reilly. He's been an entrepreneur, an employee, a consultant. He's had several startups, and now his focus is on venture company creation and advising entrepreneurs and executive teams, where he's pioneered the intersection of business model innovation, product development, organizational design, and culture transformation. He's the author of not one, but two international bestsellers. You just saw Unlearn, Let Go of Past Success to Achieve Extraordinary Results. He's also the author of Lean Enterprise, How High-Performance Organizations Innovate at Scale, which is, by the way, included in the Eric Ries series and a Harvard Business Review must-read for CEOs and business leaders. Very, very impressive. More recently, he is the co-founder of Nobody Studios, which is a super, super buzzworthy name. I can't wait to discuss the name. Nobody Studios, a new venture studio set to revolutionize company creation, got my attention a few weeks ago several weeks ago when his team reached out and told me about their very, very compelling vision, 100 compelling companies in 5 years. How amazing is that? Without further ado, welcome to Likeable Leaders, Barry O'Reilly. How you doing, sir?
I'm amazing. What an introduction, Dave. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and happy to sort of share some stories with everyone today.
Well, thank you. And it's great to have you, and look forward to some stories. Tell me about the story of Nobody Studios. How did this come together? And tell me about this very, very bold vision.
Yeah, so Nobody Studios is a venture studio. What's that? It's when you basically build companies yourself and fund them yourself to go after ideas that you think are going to change the world. So we sort of create pre-seed stage companies and try and have ideas, bring them to market. And success for us is getting those companies funded, finding amazing teams to work on them, and pick the ideas that we believe are going to have the biggest impact on society in the future.
Love it. So you have this super compelling vision, 100 compelling companies in 5 years. Are you off to it? What's your start off to here? Have you started investing in companies?
Well, this is the fun part of doing 100. You know, what we believe is that the best ideas are not going to come from Silicon Valley. They're going to come from Nigeria. They're going to come from Delhi. So we have a really broad global perspective, and we're building a studio where anyone can be anyone in the world. If they have a great idea, they can bring it to us, and we're going to help them build it. So we have a bunch of ideas in our incubation process at the moment. What's probably most unique about our incubation process is it's totally crowd infused. So we have people from the crowd all over the world giving us ideas that they'd like to work on, debating them, and that helps us prioritize the ideas we think we want to work on. And then it's really about pulling teams together to go and work on them. So one of them we have is actually an on-demand events platform. And we've got an engineering team in London, design team in Italy, the product manager is Ray Leonard Jr., based in LA, and a design team in Chicago. So all of these people have never met each other in person. They only actually knew each other 2 months ago. And 8 weeks in, we've already got a prototype that we're going to launch in the next couple of weeks. So it just gives you a sense of the breadth, the scale, the speed that we're operating at in building companies. And this has never been done before. So that's what's kind of fun about using this crowd-infused process to get us there.
I love it. You talk about remote distribution. Was this part of the vision before COVID, or did the global pandemic have an impact on how you thought about this?
Well, you know what's most interesting? If 2 years ago, if you went down to Sandhill Road and told an investment team that your engineering team was in Europe and your design team was in Africa and your leadership team was in the US, they'd laugh you out the door and say, "What are you doing here?" Right? And I think one of the great things about, I would say, the pandemic is rather than a disruption, it's been an accelerant. People have realized actually the connectivity works, the teams actually can be dispersed, and it just opens up and I think gives more accessibility to everyone in the world. It's leveled the playing field in terms of innovation, in terms of sourcing talent, in terms of hearing those people's voices. And that's really one of the core missions of the studio, is that we truly believe that the future of innovation is going to be global. One of the things we're doing that's totally irrational is we want to open the first venture studio in Africa. We're going to have one in Asia, South America, all within our first year. So we're growing at a massive pace. It's lots of momentum behind this. People believe and want to make venture accessible to all. So for many years, it's been sort of this closed group of small number of people controlling it all. But we're trying to blow that open. It's one of the reasons that we're offering equity crowdfunding in the company. We're going to be the first venture studio to ever let anybody, regardless of who they are, if they have a couple of $100, they can own and invest in the studio. So not only bring their ideas to life, but have access to this wealth creation tool that's primarily only available to the mega rich or accredited investors. So we're really trying to change the way this is done, and it's been a lot of fun about trying to do that.
Awesome. I'm going to shift gears for a moment, because one of the things that you and I talked about when we met was using the new creator economy to help move product, frankly, and get ideas out there. And I had a quick lunch with my daughter right before this interview, and we're driving home and we're listening to this new channel on Sirius XM, TikTok Radio. And they're actually playing all of the songs that have been popularized or repopularized, brought back thanks to TikTok. And I'm thinking, man, first of all, I felt really old and obscure. I had one of those moments where, like, listening to TikTok on the radio felt super, super weird. But then I was thinking about this new system that we have in this world for how ideas and song, music and products are spread. So how are you thinking about TikTok in the creator economy in the context of Nobody Studios?
Yeah, so one of the things that's exciting about the studio is some of the most popular people on TikTok in the Hype House and the Sway House are actually involved in the studio from the beginning, right? Because even a lot of these TikTokers realize for themselves as entrepreneurs, right? Like they want to understand how can they turn their notoriety actually into products. They're entrepreneurs, right? And many people just look at them and sort of laugh sometimes and go, "What? These people are just making dances." But they're very bright, they're very intelligent. From their social media work of that you have, obviously, from creating Likeable social media, that they're just so in tune with what's happening now. They're right on the pulse of things. So what we see them is are great people who have great ideas that they can bring businesses to life. And not only when they bring them to the studio, and we pair these people with great sort of experienced entrepreneurs who've been through 10, 15 companies and made a bunch of mistakes going through that process. You've got these great people with great ideas, broad influence. You bring them together with great entrepreneurs. You pair those people together, put great teams behind them. And then ideas that we have, we can bring back to the market really quickly, because they've got like 8 million followers on TikTok. So, when they're inspired and say, I want to create a company in a space like, on-demand events or collectibles, which a lot of them are into. Not only do they have a huge audience to test that new product back to, but they turn up the noise on these companies massively as we launch them. So that's one of the sort of, again, unique sort of unfair advantages that we probably have for our business is we're home for these people who have these great ideas, that have influence, that are often sometimes made fun of or not heard of, or others who just simply never get the opportunity because they don't look or talk like a Silicon Valley executive. We want all those people part of the studio, and that's what the crowd is for us. And I think it's kind of unique the way we're trying to tackle it.
Love it, love it. Speaking of the crowd, I have our first winner to announce. Thanks for posting a comment, and you are the winner of a copy of Unlearn, Alexandra Agrich from Baltimore, Maryland. Alexandra, and congratulations, and we'll give away 2 more books, so keep those comments and questions coming. If you have any questions, if you're just joining us, we are live with Barry O'Reilly, entrepreneur, author, investor, co-founder of Nobody Studios. While we're on the topic of that book, tell us a little bit about Unlearn. Why did you write it, and what are the key takeaways from the book?
Yeah, so the reason I was inspired to write Unlearn was I coach a lot of Fortune 500 executives and disruptive startups here in Silicon Valley, like Slack, Spotify, and a few others. And what I found from working with these amazing leaders was, while learning new things was tough, what was even harder was for them to unlearn their existing behavior and thinking, especially if it had made them successful to date. Now, technology changes, the world changes, TikTok dances changes, Dave, as you're finding out. So if you're not constantly adapting to these changing circumstances, and I think this is why adaptability is so important even in your own sort of pyramid, right? Like what I say with Unlearning is, it's not saying that everything that you know is wrong or it doesn't matter anymore. I describe Unlearning as a system. It's about letting go or moving away from once useful mindsets and acquired behaviors that were successful in the past, but now limiting your success. So it's not forgetting, discarding your knowledge or experience. It's making space for new information to come in to inform your decision making and action, and letting go of outdated information that doesn't matter anymore, right? So it's a system. And I've been coaching this system, as I said, to the leadership teams at American Airlines, Slack, Spotify, you name them. Because adaptability is so important for their business, right? And as I often say, it's not companies that get disrupted, it's people. Because we get so wedded to the behaviors that made us successful in the past, and they limit us actually. So adaptability is just such important skill as the speed of technology, innovation, customer demand is just going to change and get faster, if anything. So that's what inspired me to write Unlearn.
Yeah, love it. And tell me about it. You know, I wrote this. I wrote the original Likeable social media back in 2012, and I've done 3 editions since then. I have to do a 4th edition because the world of social media changes so darn quickly. And here I am, New York Times bestselling author of a book on social media. And, you know, I cannot use TikTok to save my life. Big problem. I'm supposed to be a social media expert, and my kids are much better TikTokers than I am. But while we're on the topic of adaptability, since you brought it up, and every episode of Likeable Leaders, we get into the pyramid behind you. And I'm going to ask Abigail, our fabulous apprentice producer, to share the pyramid with our audience now. So y'all watching at home can take a look at the Likeable business pyramid. And I'm going to ask you, Barry, in just a moment to tell us the 2 or 3 traits which resonate the most with you. But first, if you're watching at home on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, you tell me which trait resonates the most with you as a leader. Okay, and I'm going to choose one person who will win the next copy of Barry's book, Unlearn. Is it listening? Is it storytelling? Is it passion? Is it teamwork? Is it surprise and delight? Is it responsiveness? Is it simplicity? Is it authenticity? Is it transparency? Is it adaptability? Or is it gratefulness? Which of those 11 likable business traits appeal the most, resonate the most with you, the person that is watching right now? Okay, post in the comments. We'll get to your comments in a moment. Barry, how about you? You mentioned adaptability. Is that the one that stands out for you the most? And which 1 or 2 others resonate the most with you as a leader?
So first of all, like, I love this model, David. When you introduced it to me, I had so much fun going through it, and it's such a great set of perspectives to challenge myself, to think about how am I leading even as we're creating this studio, right? And we, as you said, we've talked a bit about adaptability. That's what's interesting to me about Unlearning, right? And changing circumstances that we're facing. And the 2 others that I really liked, though, were responsiveness and surprise and delight. And there's 2 reasons that I really want to bring those up. The responsiveness actually goes in a little bit to what you were talking about with the TikTokers early. These waves of innovation are going to get faster and quicker, and the companies that might be disruptors today are actually going to be disrupted by the time they finish painting their new offices. you're even talking about it in your social media editions, right? You probably can't even create an edition fast enough, because when you do edition 4, it's probably already going to be out of date as soon as you send it to the publisher, right? So this ability to sort of respond is really, really important, because one of the most famous studies actually on innovation was done by Bill Gross, who ran Idealab, and that was sort of like the first ever venture studio. And he actually found the most important indicator for innovation was timing. Your ability to be in the right place at the right time when an idea comes to fruition. So this is again why this idea of crowd infusion, bringing influencers together who recognize trends early, and the quicker then that we can see these emerging trends and bring the right people together to respond to that and bring a company to market, that's what we think is going to be so important about success in the future, is your ability to respond when the time is right, with the right people, bringing them together. And I think a social media really is like the ultimate market research, the ultimate customer sentiment demand. And these people who are either TikTokers are really dialed into that. So let's listen and respond to what they're hearing and working with them to build companies as quickly as possible. So that was one that sort of instantly jumped out at me as I was looking at the pyramid.
Love it. So it sounds like adaptability and responsiveness resonate perhaps the most with you, which is great. All right, I'm going to move us on, but I'm going to give away a prize. Oh, here we go. It's Barbara Smet. Congratulations. Barbara said listening. I told you before the show, listening is one of our more popular ones. So Barbara said listening, and she has been randomly selected to win a copy of UNLEARN from Barry O'Reilly. Congratulations, Barbara. We've got one more prize to give away at the end. Stay tuned. We're going to give away a copy of Barry's UNLEARN, and I'm going to throw in a copy of my last book, The Art of People, our grand prize, if you will. So stay tuned, and the only way to win is to comment on LinkedIn or ask Barry or me a question. Speaking of questions, the question that I like to ask everyone that comes on the Likeable Leaders Show, Barry, is a bit of a doozy, but what is the biggest mistake of your life to date? And more important, what did you learn from that mistake?
God, so it's almost a case of like how many different mistakes I have made, right? Probably the biggest mistake I ever made was that I thought that you only ever have one shot at something, and I remember the first time that I was ever sort of coming up with a new idea or a company that I was trying to start. And I just built it up so much in my mind that I had to get the deck perfect. I had to have the team perfect. I had to have everything perfect, because then I would be successful. But trying to be perfect is impossible. Trying to be perfect means you take too long and often miss the opportunities. And then you build it up in your head that everything has to be so perfect that if you don't get the perfect result, you're so disappointed, and it knocks your confidence massively. And I remember sitting down with actually one of my uncles at the time, and he gave me some great advice. He was like, as long as you're learning, as long as you can sort of dust yourself off and have another shot, you're still in the game. And that's one of these biggest notions I'd really encourage others to say is that you don't just have one shot, you actually have many. And it's about preparing yourself for when that next shot comes around, that you're ready. And dust yourself down, capture the lessons you learned. But if you're ready, when the opportunity will knock again, I think that's probably the biggest lessons I've learned. Especially as I'm trying to create 100 companies in the next 5 years, we're gonna need to do 10,000 companies because they're not all going to work, right? And that's been a big learning for me.
That's right. That resonates a lot with me. When I was fundraising, I started my first company when I was 30. And then I started my first venture-backed company when I was 36. And I remember thinking like I was so old. And the truth is that while Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, Gates, these guys, the college students, building businesses, or 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, they get a lot of the press, they get a lot of the glory, a lot of the glamour.
Yeah.
The truth is, People are building companies older and older and older. And, 36 is young. 50 is young. Yeah. And so yeah, whoever's watching this, no matter what your age is, you do have a shot. And there are more shots to come even after you swing and miss, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I think of there's an Eminem song that says you only get one shot, do not let opportunity pass. But the truth is it's not right. You only get one shot in a given moment, but then you're gonna have another shot. So
That's it.
I really love that advice. Well, if folks are watching and they want to get involved in Nobody Studios, you said you're going to be doing a crowdfunding. How can people sign up to learn more about you and Nobody?
Thanks, David. Yeah. So I'd really encourage if these ideas resonate, go to nobodystudios.com. What we need is talent, influence, and capital. So talent is just like the amazing people that are out there in the world. Bring your ideas to us, bring your capabilities to us, and help build these companies that are going to shape the world. Influence is just tell people about us. Like, everyone is an influencer. It's not just these sort of TikTok people with 10 million followers. Like, you have influence. Everyone has influence in their own network. So if what you think we're doing would resonate with a friend of yours, just share it with one person. That would be amazing. And then capital is just the opportunity that you can invest. If you're really inspired and you want to be part of this journey, we're doing a crowdfunding in a couple of weeks. So yeah, sign up at nobodystudios.com or all the social channels, and you'll see when that launch date is. And it would be amazing to have you with us.
Love it. Before we go, before we give away our grand prize, we do have a question or two from our audience. Last chance to post a question if you're watching live on LinkedIn, and if you're watching the recorded version, you can post a question and maybe we'll get to it later, but can't get to it.
We'll try.
So Nicole wants to know where resiliency fits in on this pyramid. So I'll take it first, I guess, and then I'll ask you to share your thoughts on it as well, Barry. I do think resilience is a very, very important trait. I think of it a little bit less as a trait. So I built the pyramid for leaders specifically. And while I think leaders need to build resilience, I think everyone needs to build resilience. And I'm personally, as important as resilience is, and I definitely think it's very, very important, it didn't surface to the very top of my likable leadership principles. And I think resilience has more of an important human trait than specific to leaders. So that's my take on it. What do you think of resilience? I'm sure you think it's pretty important given what you've just said about taking multiple shots.
Well, absolutely, right. But I think there's parts of it are in here, both actually with adaptability and responsiveness, right? Because I think resilience for me is the ability to bounce forward from tough situations. And that's about being adaptable, right? Recognizing that the things that you tried worked or didn't work, and taking those sort of changes or shifts in behavior thinking that you need to do and then respond. So for me, that's probably how I would interpret resiliency, is that ability to learn forward or bounce forward from difficult situations, and captured in adaptability and responsiveness for me. So great question though as well.
Love it. And that's a great opportunity for me to plug that book one more time. So hold it up, Unlearn, from Barry O'Reilly, available on Amazon and bookstores everywhere. Check it out. And I want to thank you for joining us today, Barry, and spending some time with me and our audience. I want to thank Abigail, our producer, one of my apprentices. If you want to learn more about amazing college talent, check out chooseapprentice.com. It's one of my companies. And most of all, I want to thank you, the viewers. Thanks for tuning in and spending some of your precious time with us today. I do have a grand prize winner. If your name was called earlier, and if your name is about to be called, please send me a direct message with your address so we can get out some books to you. Congratulations to our grand prize winner, Mark Merkin. Mark Merkin, you commented and were selected randomly. Congratulations. And until next time, thanks again for joining us, everyone, and have a super, super likable day. Bye for now.